Hi, I'm Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Christy, and we work with Globe International.
Working with missionaries, we hear stories of the struggles, the humor, God's goodness, and a little side of crazy.
Hey, that's who we are.
This is Crazy Missionary Stories. Hello and welcome back to Crazy Missionary Stories. Today we have Madilyn with us, who has been serving in Cambodia for 6 years. So Madilyn, do you go by Madilyn or do people call you Maddie? Okay.
Madilyn.
Sounds good. So Madilyn, will you tell us what you're currently doing in Cambodia?
Yes, I'm just doing church planting. We've been working with a church that was in a house, and then we prepared a place for them to worship and just discipling them, discipling pastors, people just to stand in the church, and also doing on the side just helping the village and the community with a lot of different projects and youth ministry. We love youth ministry.
Wow, sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's
Keep
cool,
busy.
though.
Yes.
So how did you get into missions?
I don't know. It's been a long time since I don't know. My grandparents, they were missionaries, or they weren't missionaries, but they went on mission trips, and I don't know, we always heard stories and it interested me. But really I feel like where God just started to just open my eyes to see just a different side of the world and just what ministry and missions are is when I was like 14 or 15, I went to Haiti for a mission trip, and I was scared to death to go on that trip, but my parents kind of pushed it. Somebody paid for me to go, my brother, and we went with my grandparents, and my uncle was on that trip, and just different people from our church. And my parents didn't go actually, but really wanted us to go, and I was scared to death. And but once I got off the plane and traveled 4 hours up a mountain, and I woke up the next day, I was just so anxious. But when all those kids came running out of the orphanage to me, I literally was just like, I don't know, everything melted away. And then it was just this new passion that was found, this new love for something. And I just think the Holy Spirit just really touched my heart in that time. And then I wanted to go back, and I just continued to crave just any way I could get involved with the church and missions, helping in our community. And then that's really just kind of what started it.
Wow. So your parents almost forced you to go on a mission trip.
Yeah, they practically, they mainly forced me to go.
So was it because they just knew that would change your worldview, or they thought you had a call to missions? Do you know why?
I think they just wanted me to have just another outlook on life, and just to just know what it's like to be grateful for what you have, I think. And I don't know, I never really asked them that, to be honest, but I don't think they had any ideas that I would want to do that forever and be a missionary, but it really did impact me, so.
Wow. Yeah. So what was the next step? You were 13, 14.
Yes.
So obviously you had to finish high school.
Right. Oh my gosh, I was crazy though. I literally was just like so transformed by that. And so, like I was saying, I was just looking for everything everywhere. And after high school, I think people just knew that I was kind of obsessed with ministry and missions and wanting to do stuff. And then people would just tell me different things that I could look into. And that's when Youth with a Mission organization came up, and I went through there instead of going to fashion school. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to do fashion school in New York City. And but then my goal was still to start a business and sell something and have a business that I could then help ministry and do missions on the side, but that's still my dream eventually. But anyway, I went to YWAM, fell in love with just the idea of the unreached places, and I was like, I got to do that, and just learned about the Holy Spirit, and God just took me deeper and deeper in what that meant to serve Him and to know Him and to share. And I saw miracles, and God gave me dreams, and I never received any of that before. I grew up Baptist, so everything was good, but I just experienced so much more through that school. And then they sent me to Cambodia, and that's unreached places. And on that trip, my mind was blown from I just asked God. I kind of, not challenging God, but I kind of did, show me what you can do, who you are, and He did. And so, and so I've been in Cambodia ever since then. And
Any crazy stories during that time that you could share with us? Our podcast is called Crazy Missionary Stories,
right.
So we love all these.
Yeah, I have a lot of crazy stories. I wish I could remember all of them, but I think a really amazing story just about the Holy Spirit, and that's what I was really just asking God to show me, was more about the Holy Spirit and healing and the miracles, because we're believing for all these amazing things. So if we're in another country and normally you see that in other countries where people are just they're used to the spiritual realm and that type of talk and everything, and they are open to healing and stuff. And so I was just asking God to show me that. And we were our first week or two that we were in the village, I was in the middle of nowhere, and we were staying at this little church, and we went with that pastor to go pray. We were evangelizing, and there was a lady, I think, that was sick. It was an older lady, and everybody around there, they really welcomed us into their home, and we sat down. It was a big group of us, and they just said, well, this lady's been sick. She was in this little hut, and it was like really small, I don't even know, but it was just her in there, and she hadn't been able to sit up for months. Like, she'd been so sick. And we just were, like, sharing the stories of Jesus. And I got to do that for the first time. I'd never really done that to anybody, like, in that type, starting from the beginning and just saying, you have a choice. Like, you want to choose, what do you want to, if you believe, and you don't really know what to say when it's the first time, so it was crazy. But she actually was like, I do believe what you're saying, and it blew me away. And then that just does something to your heart. And then they're like, my mother is in this, she's sick, and she's the one inside this little hut. Would you pray for her? And we were like, yeah, we can pray for her. And I just was like, okay, God, like, it's to myself, please, like, show me your power. Not for myself, not that just, like, to show me, but because I want these people to know who you are, because I know you have the power to do it, and I know that you want to heal her, and I know that you want her to believe in you. And so don't just heal her just because, but please, I want her to know you and your power. And, yeah, God loved that prayer, I guess, I'm sure. And, we just all reached our hands out together, and we were just praying, and I don't know, like, she sat straight up. That I just remember that she sat straight up, and, like, in my heart, I was like, it was just like this, like, wow moment that God is so real. And they were translating what she was saying, how she was feeling, and I just began to, like, cry, like, uncontrollably. Like, I'm not a crier, and also I hadn't cried in a long time, like, the whole school. Like, I just couldn't cry for some reason. I don't know if I wasn't hard-hearted or something, but anyway. And then I'd been asking people to pray that I would be able to cry to release that. And so it was weird that time. God showed me this miracle where she was healed and she sat up. And then I just began to cry, and then I was laughing, like, uncontrollably, just laughing and crying, and, like, I was, like, snorting, like, it was crazy. Like, people were, like, looking at me like, shh, be quiet. Some were hugging me, and I was, like, I could not control myself. I was about to fall off the little bench we were sitting on. But that, I believe, was the first time. That was the first time I ever saw healing. That was the first time I'm pretty sure that was the Holy Spirit that I received, that laughing and crying uncontrollably like that. And I don't know, slain by the Spirit, I don't know what you call that, but that I experienced, and that set me on fire I'm like, everybody can be changed. Like, I was preaching it for the rest of that trip, and and that's when I wanted to come back, because I saw the people were continually open to the Word. So that's my crazy, amazing story about God. So, that impacted my life a lot.
So you went to Cambodia with YWAM.
Yeah.
Or did you go back to the same area in Cambodia?
No, that was only for 3 weeks that we were there. We went for 3 months, and so that was the first 3 weeks. And then after that, we went to a different city, and we stayed there doing different types of ministry. And we actually started a Bible study with a group of ladies there, and and I wanted to come back to continue that. And they did actually all move by the time I was able to get back to them, which was so sad. But, so I've moved around a bit.
So were you working with another missionary over there, or just kind of on your own?
After YWAM?
Yeah, after YWAM.
Yeah, so after I finished with YWAM, well, not finished with YWAM, but after I came back, after that schooling was finished, 3 months there, I ended up joining staff and doing a bunch of schooling through that. And then the last 2.5 years, or 3 maybe, I've came with a different team. We're just independently started working with this church plant that we're now involved with. And so that's how we needed a covering and wanted some just leadership and support community. And so that's how we've joined Globe.
Yeah, that's so cool.
But now it's just my husband and I. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So either Haiti or Cambodia, either one, what did you feel any type of, like, culture shock going from, you're from Alabama, right?
Yeah.
Very small town in Alabama,
Yeah,
right?
very small.
So talk to us about, what you might have experienced with culture shock and what surprised you about other countries.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it was shocking just to see the first time, in Haiti, for instance, the first time I got off that plane and I went in the airport and there's all these people staring at you, just begging you, and your heart just breaks and it's hot and you're uncomfortable and they're uncomfortable, it smells, and you just see like fear on their faces, and then you feel that fear too. And it's just like such an overwhelming feeling, I think, at a young age also, just to think like, wow, like these people like live like that. So that was a huge shock. But like I said, I think the Holy Spirit really blessed me on that trip once I got settled in. I mean, I was fearless after that, and I think I continued to be fearless for a long time. I wasn't really afraid. And so, but the biggest culture shock that I experienced was going back to the church and really just resenting or just hating the way that we did things in America. I got really angry about that, and just standing in the church and us worshiping, like I love God. It did draw me closer to God, the way that we worshipped in the Haitian church the first time, and the way people had nothing, and it gives me chills now, and they just like, they just so desperately wanted the truth. They knew the truth, and they knew that was life, was Jesus, and being there at that church and worshiping, and like it was just such a deep thing. And so going back into your church where people are just standing there with their arms next down, we're singing the same song, like barely swaying, and I just was thinking, we have so much to be grateful for. And so for several months, I remember my uncle asking me, like, what is wrong with you? Are you okay? In a concerned way, but you're just acting weird. Like, every service I was crying. I mean, just pouring, like, I just couldn't control myself. I think I just was so heartbroken and just so drawn to God, and I think I was just overwhelmed by just how we could be here and they could be there, just that whole thing. That was the biggest shock. And I didn't know what culture shock was at that time, so I didn't know what I was going through, but I just knew, like, I just feel overwhelmed by both of those experiences and where I am and what had happened, and it just made me crave to go back into whatever I did, working toward the goal of going back into serving and to not just to taking full advantage of the things that God has given me. He's blessed me with so much, so I want to be able to give it all back to Him the best way that I can with my life. And so that's really what's come of the culture shock. Has been good, but it's been a lot. It was a lot that first time.
Yeah, and you were so young to be going through all of that. Yeah. So in Cambodia, is there anything that you've really had to get used to, different ways of life? Yeah. What language do they speak?
They speak Khmer.
Okay.
And it's spelled like Khmer. So you might not know what that even means, but they're called the Khmer people and Khmer language. But it's like not on any translation hardly. Like you cannot find it anywhere. So it's only the language that they speak. Yes, and what was your question? I forgot.
You're good.
Besides that.
Just different ways of life. Is there anything you've had to get used to?
I think, there's a lot I had to get used to. At first going in, you just have, your heart is just set on helping people. But then when people take advantage of you, that's a hard thing. When you're just like, thinking you're connecting with people, like even when I just first went there, and when you're purchasing something, they make you feel guilty for not, if something is too expensive or you're just looking at something in the market, they're expecting you to buy that if you ask them what the price is. And if you're just like, I just would like to look at your store and just see if this is what I need, and I have a budget. Americans, we plan out stuff, and so if it's like, oh, I don't have that, or I think that kind of looks like it's been used or broken, a little bit, I don't really want to buy it, but they get so hurt by that and get mad at you, and you feel like it's awkward. So that was a hard thing, just going shopping and stuff, because I love to shop, and you need to buy stuff, so that was weird. But later on, going to the village where I am now, for the last 2.5 years, I had to learn how to make a fire, cook on a fire. My kitchen was outside. That was really hard. Chickens would like jump in my kitchen because that was their house previously before I moved there, was on the side. It was just like this one little countertop. It was all made of wood, and had like tin off the side, and I would I had a little burner, just one little, I don't even know what you call that, but we would, with the propane, and I would cook some eggs on that, and then the guy would come by to sell me breakfast that morning. So I lived pretty far from the village market, and so they would come by moto with a big ice chest on the back, and then I'd have to go out there and like buy the food. And every time I would go to buy the food, if I didn't put up my food that I was cooking, the chickens would get in there and eat the eggs. Oh, no. They would eat the eggs like in the hot pan and knock it off, and oh my gosh, it would make me so mad. It did get comical, and it's like, okay, I've got to learn to like put that somewhere else, but eventually my dogs ate all the chickens, so we're fine. I was happy with that, and I was like, no more chickens, please. So that was a hard thing to get used to, just because you feel like you're doing so good, but then when your food is gone, you're like, darn. We took bucket showers, but we had these big cisterns that would catch the rain, and sometimes we'd have to pump water into it from a well if it wasn't full of water, or we didn't have rain that month, and you have to wear it's called a grama, and it's like a strapless dress, and you have to bathe in that, but you just have like a scoop, and you just, a bucket shower type thing, and you wash yourself. It's like your rag, and you try to hide, but we had a lot of guys around, and so I would go. We had this one it looked like a porta potty house, but it's a squatty potty. Do you know what that is? You squat on the ground. And so I'd go in there, and I can't tell you how many times I've fell and I fought, like my foot would go in the toilet. There's nothing in the toilet, but it's gross. Your phone drops in there because you're trying to take a shower, and because I needed a light. And so I would just prop my light up like this so I could see, but not on me, because obviously there's holes and cracks everywhere. So, just trying to do that. That was hard to get used to. And my feet and my nails were always so dirty. I would clean them, but my heels, when you're constantly in the water and you're wearing flip-flops, you bathe in flip-flops, there's mud splashing up on your feet. So I always had these ugly, gross, calloused, cracked heels that had dirt in them. I could never get clean, and so that was hard, and I looked gross, and you want to look good, but I didn't have any mirrors either in my place. I had one little broken mirror, and so eventually you just learn to just not care about that. But I looked back and I thought, man, I don't know how I looked as good as I did, because I did not have anything to help me out, but the joy of the Lord, I think really helps you. Just enjoy your time. I really didn't think it was that difficult after a while, but those are some things I think Americans probably feel like, gosh, that's crazy, but I really didn't feel like I was suffering. I really thought it was an adventure, and I felt like I'm glad to do this. So I'm glad that I can say that, but I am very glad now that I do have a home that I don't have to take a shower outside. So
yeah, that sounds nice.
Yeah, and I could go on forever about that, but those are some of the major.
Yeah, those are big things.
You speak Khmer then?
Yes.
How did you learn the language?
I studied back in YWAM. We studied all the time because we had people that were Khmer on our team, and we Americans, there's a lot of us too, and so we all were challenged to learn each other's languages, rightly so. And so we had books, and we had audio things, and we randomly got tutors to help us. But man, I could not figure it out for a long time, and people think people from Alabama are kind of dumb, and maybe we are, because for me anyway, it was so hard for me to learn because I couldn't figure out how to, when you're learning the words and you're listening to them speaking, see, I can't even pronounce what I'm trying to say. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. Trying to understand the words when they're speaking, when it's like, blah, 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 trying to know which word is a word.
Yeah, distinguish it.
Yeah, distinguish it. Thank you. So yeah, that was a difficult thing. But once I got out of YWAM, we always had translators, and so that was, not helping us much. But I went to the village, and you really have to force yourself to learn. So that's really where. And then I'd ask a lot of questions, and what I learned for a long time. And so eventually you just start to remember what you've learned, and I don't know, I really prayed about that a lot, and people were so encouraging to sit there and listen to me, and but like I was telling somebody the other day that grandmothers just come and sit on your porch and talk, and they don't have any tea, so they're just like chatting to you, and you're thinking, I don't know what you're saying, so you better learn how to respond, because if they're quiet and they're like asking you a question, so that helped a lot, but they laughed at me a lot too, and it's fine. Their culture, they laugh a lot and laugh at you a lot, so you just have to learn to, it is what it is, and you just, so, you know, that's how I've just had to learn. Be put on the spot and force yourself to listen, so, yeah. And I'm not fluent completely yet, so, but I hope to be one day, yeah.
So how did your parents react when you told them you want to go back to Cambodia full time?
Well, I think that they knew I had a really good response to just the outreach time when I first went to Cambodia, and when I wanted to not go to college, they were kind of hesitant about that. But you know, we had to raise support for me to be able to go, and then I also worked at the Napa Auto Parts store for a little bit, trying to raise the money that I could. But God really just flooded my bank account with everything that I needed, and so many people gave and were so supportive. And you know, growing up, we just always worked for what we had, and so my parents didn't want me to have to ask people for money, and so that was hard for them. But also, I think, I'm not sure what was all hard for them. You know, I think it was probably difficult for them to like let me go and stuff, but I wasn't really thinking about them too much, to be honest, and I should have probably. But yeah, they were always very encouraging, and I really feel like as God was leading me, He was leading my whole family, including my parents, just closer to Him. So I feel like it's really not by my doings, but I think it was God's plan just to draw us all closer to Him and just really wake us up to what He's called us to do and just our life as Christians. And so I think He's really brought my whole family along on the growing process. But they've been really supportive, and you know, when I was about to come back to America after the 3 months I'd been in Cambodia the first time, I was reading my Bible, and I started reading through my Bible because I realized I didn't really know it as much as I should. And so I started reading through it, and I was in Genesis 12, and it talks about the call to Abraham, and it just talks about leaving your family and leaving all these things and go to a place that I will show you. And I just felt God speak that to my heart, like, I'm going to show you how to do it, go. And so I like called my parents, and I just said, you know, I feel like God's speaking to me to come back here. And I was nervous to share that with them because I knew it would make them sad in a way. I didn't think they would ever say, you can't come back or anything, but they were like, we kind of figured you would say that. And I think I could hear them getting choked up a little bit. But when we got back, I stayed there for a while, and everything was fine. And God, again, continued to show up and provide. And, yeah, like I've been saying, I think God just really was doing a lot of work in my parents' hearts as well. And they always tell people, you know, like, when we have children, we have to give them back to God. And so they've been really amazing through the whole process. So I'm very blessed to have such good parents. So.
Yeah. And were you single at the time when you went back to Cambodia?
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of like a safety concern too, I would think, for your parents.
Maybe, yeah. I've had some crazy things happen just traveling alone. Yeah, as a single, and even just going back after COVID. I've only been married since November, and then even before that, we didn't date we dated a year or so. But yeah, I think that was definitely something they were worried about, traveling alone. But you know, I felt so confident God was going to keep me safe. And again, I was just so like excited to fly by myself and to you know, just be independent, and it was just fun, and I enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, could you share with us any of the crazy things that have happened to you along the way?
You know, when COVID started, I was in Cambodia, and everybody got the news and was starting to kind of freak out, and they're like, we're going to have to evacuate you guys. You need to get out, you know, and get out now while you can. And I was like, wow, this is scary. But, you know, I bought a ticket to fly back with one of my group of my friends, but there was a lot of YWAM bases at the time, and so everybody was going back. But I'd forgotten because everything was kind of chaotic, and we were saying our goodbyes, and I'd taken a taxi with one group of friends to one city, and we were about to get on our flight, and then when I went to give them my ticket, they said, "You missed your flight. You scheduled it for the morning. They're flying at the nighttime." So I had missed my flight, and I was like, you know, in the movies, like Home Alone or whatever, they're like, "Hey, I need a ticket, you know, like give me a ticket," and you're talking to them. So I was doing all that, and like, "Well, get me on the next flight. Like, who can I talk to? Where's these people I can talk to?" And they're like, "We don't do that here." So you have to go book your own flight somewhere on your phone. And so, yeah, I freaked out for a minute. I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? You know, my friends, they didn't want to leave me, but they couldn't miss their flight. So they prayed for me, and I cried. I went and sat down by myself, and they got on the plane, and I went to the other side or whatever. And I was just started, and I texted my mom and dad, and I was like, "You need to pray for me right now. I don't know what I'm about to do." And so then I started contacting the other people that I knew that were flying at a different time or whatever. And they were like, "If you can get on a bus or get a taxi tonight, I'll buy your, I'll help you. I'll buy this ticket, and you can pay me back later." And they were like buying bus tickets, and they were buying plane tickets, helping me do all this and coordinating it for me because they were on a long bus ride. And so this one girl, her name was Emma, and yeah, she really helped me so much in that time. And there was also a girl from Switzerland who was coming to visit. She had just gotten there. She'd have to turn around and go right back because of COVID. And she was in a hotel in that city that I was in, and they told me, "You should go stay at that hotel with her right now," until I had to wait till 11 o'clock to get on this bus to drive all the way to the other city. And I could like barely make it in time was the problem. And so, and people were starting to like shun the white people because maybe we brought the COVID, you know? Yeah. And so I got a taxi to that hotel. I was able to get a shower and like talk to people on the phone and just chill out with that other girl. And she was out the next day too. And so then I got on a bus that night. And the thing is, that bus, it was like a van actually. And they were of all these men. I was the only girl, a little girl. Wow. All these men from different countries. Like, they weren't even from Cambodia. It was a Cambodian driver and a Cambodian somebody in the seat beside him up front. And they let me sit in the seat right behind the driver, thank God. I was so tired, and we had to drive all night to make it to the next city. It was like 5 or 6 hours, something like that. It was like on the opposite side. And so I was so scared. There's like French people, and I don't even know Japanese people and Vietnamese people, and I don't know, there's all these random men. I'm like, these people could just really hurt me right now. But I just was like, "Lord, please help me," and I'm just going to close my eyes. So I just laid down, and I just took a nap. And I don't think I really slept that well. I think I was like constantly praying as I'm sleeping, you know. And those people got us there way earlier. I don't know how they did, but maybe the roads were cleared. The angels lifted us up and took us there. But we got there to the hotel where my other friend was, who was booking all the stuff for me. I got to sleep for a couple hours, take a shower, eat some breakfast, and get to the airport. And then I saw all the people that I knew from the other YWAM bases. And it was like a party, and I was just like so grateful. Like, what in the world? I don't know. It was amazing, and could have been so bad. I thought I'm going to be stuck here forever, but God made it just even better. I had really good seats on the plane, and we got back and we got to, you know, travel in the U.S. together and eat burgers together, and we'd never done that. You know, it was really fun. And then actually my 2020 or 21, whatever the COVID year was the best year. It was like, even though there was a lot of difficulty, Alabama, we kind of embraced it. But anyway, so that was my crazy story with that. And it was just, everything turns out to be a blessing. So even coming back, I don't know if we have time to share that story.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, even coming back from the whole COVID thing, they were, you know, we couldn't come in for a while. I stayed here a year, actually. And then the leader back where I was at said, "Okay, like, you can try to come in if you want to." They're kind of starting to like let up the restraints on it and everything. But I have to stay 2 weeks by myself in a hotel room for like quarantining. And so there's all these COVID tests you have to take throughout the whole journey. I mean, I had to do one before I left, and I had to do one in Atlanta, multiple ones in Korea. And then I had to do multiple ones when I got to the airport in Cambodia. And then we had to go, it was like crazy. I had to stay 2 weeks by myself, cooped up in a hotel room. But, you know, God really blessed me with a really nice window. I mean, it was huge. And so I could see the sunrise and the sunset, or one or the other, and had a pool view, and you could see people walking. So it was really like okay. And I don't know how I stayed sane, but I was worshiping and praying. And so that was a long thing in itself. And so you wait that whole time to be able to get back, and you think everything's going to be good because you have all these papers saying that, I've done like 1 million COVID tests, like I'm good, and they were still like suspicious, the taxi drivers. But when I got down to the hotel after they released us, I've got one man, he was going to take me all the way to where I needed to go. And so they took me, and there's like there's all these border stops. So it kind of got scary a little bit because each province had these stops where you had to show your paper, and he had to get out, and it was raining that day, of course, and he had to show them all this paperwork, and these police people are all standing there, and if they say you can't go through, you can't go through. And many times, I had to get out with him, and they were like looking so intimidating, and I'm just like, Lord, please, 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 just praying constantly, please, get through. If I can just get it back to my place, I'm going to be good. And every time, like, there was multiple times people were like, I don't know about this, and but they eventually let me go. I just had to stand there and like look really nice or whatever. I don't know. Hi, they start talking to them a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe she's fine. So then they would let me go, and so we drive some more, and we made it to the final destination where I was supposed to be. It was the last border of Thailand, is what you call it, and they had all this screening and everything set up, and they did a COVID test right there on the side of the road. Yeah, and they were like, "I'm sorry, you can't come in." And I was like, "What do you mean I can't come in?" I was like, "I've done all these things to come. Please let me in," And my taxi driver left me, and then the guy who was the leader came to pick me up, and he met me at the other side and was talking for me. And I tried to talk in Khmer to them, and he was talking in Khmer to them. We were trying to be friendly. And then they had to call all these people. And, we just sat over there, and I was like, Lord, please, please, I've made it this far. Please let me come in. And then they called the main lady, who is like the governess of Thailand, and she said I could come in. And so then I was able to go. And I cried about that. I was, thank you, Lord. Yeah, and so, and actually to this day, she knows who I am. I have never met that lady, the governess, but we have a honey business, and she has bought a lot of jars of my honey to sell for me, and she's come to support. I had a restaurant business at one time. She's come and ordered from my place multiple times, and I don't know who she is, but if I'm ever in trouble, I actually have her assistant's phone number, and I've called him before, and he's come to me with the chief of police, and they've been there. So it's a pretty cool connection, and I don't know why I have her favor, but I think it's definitely from God. So
wow.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So you have a business there, the honey. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? How'd you get started in that? What's that look like?
That was originally my husband's thing, and it still is. I don't really know too much, like in detail, about how to do all that, but my husband, it was during the COVID time. I think there wasn't a lot going on, and so he took kind of a time to go to learn about the bees. And so, yeah, he just enjoyed it. He loved it, and he learned so much, and he just always has a heart to he loves to learn, and to try new things. And if it could be a way that will provide extra money for us or for other missionaries or our ministry, he's all about it. And so, yeah, so he just bought some bees at the COVID time. He bought some and brought them back, and he was doing that in Wyland. But when he left, they said, hey, you should take your bees with you. And so he took them, and he's multiplied them. And, you just have to, the hard thing about bees is that you can't just keep them in one place in Cambodia, because there's not like a ton of flowers like you would think. So you can feed them sugar water, but if you want to have like the best honey, it needs to be only from like the flowers and the pollen. And so we have to transport them to different locations. Every season, if there's like mango season or some other kind of season, you just are moving them around, and you're trying to actually find farms that don't spray for pesticides, because they will wipe out your whole colony. And so we have had to grow, and then some will die and then come back. But those things are fighters. If you know how to keep them growing, and you got to take out the little queen and put them in another one, and you got to direct them where they need to go. I have no idea, but he loves doing it. And when they bite you, it hurts really bad. I would say harder than any bite I've ever experienced. And my leg swole up like super big one time. It was crazy. But they've helped us a lot, those little bees. I'm grateful for them. We call our business pollination, poly and nation, and I think our our heart behind that was we want to pollinate the nation. And so, with the bees, they're helping us do that. And it is a way to connect with people. It's also really good to, I think we're able to teach a lot of people about like health through that, because honey helps you a lot. And I think people need to hear that kind of thing in a country that, they're malnourished and they don't always have the best way to help themselves. So to teach them about, hey, if you have this honey, this can help you if you have a sore throat and sinuses and, all the stuff. So it opens doors for a lot of different conversations too. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So how did you meet your husband?
He was on staff with YOM too, and we were friends for a while. And he did get obsessed with me a little bit. I'm kidding. But he had a crush on me, and I did too. I had a crush on him too. But I just felt like we cannot really even like communicate. That's kind of crazy. But he was on the evangelism team, and he loves God so much. And he has a crazy story too, just his past and some things that he's been through. But God has so transformed his life, and he is just so on fire. He's a really just determined person. He's an entrepreneur. Anything you ask him to do, he can do it and figure it out. He's good with anything. Like, he built me a house, and he's never built a house before. And he can do electricity and cement work and sharing the gospel. He's just all for it, and I always wanted to be on his team, and I just find him I found him fascinating. And any problem I had, I just needed him to do or build something for me. He would do it, and beyond what I wanted. It was like amazing, and I would be annoyed at first. I'm like, you didn't do it how I asked you to do it, but it actually looks better than what I suggested. So you kind of get like, you start crushing on people that can impress you, So I just was, I thought, wow, you're pretty a great guy. So that's how I met him, and we did fall in love eventually. He did like freak me out again and said, 2 years, Madilyn. It was one time I was telling him, you need to just stop flirting with me, because I don't think that this is going to ever work out, and I don't want to hurt your feelings any more than I'm already doing it right now. You need to seriously stop, because I'm not for you. We can hardly have this conversation right now, what we're saying. I didn't think he probably could understand even what I was telling him, but like, no, stop, He couldn't really understand me completely, and I couldn't speak his language hardly ever back then too, and so it was crazy. But that moment he said, 2 years, Madilyn, 2 years. And I was like, you have lost your mind if you're telling me 2 years. I'm like, what is that? We're going to date, be married? What is that? And he just said 2 years. And he would never say anything else about that. And sure enough, like, to the day, he like timed it. I don't know. Wow. I don't know I need to ask him that, if he wrote it down or whatnot. But I don't know. But
did you write it down if you know it was to the day?
No, but he told me when he asked me, brought it up. It was the day that I decided to allow myself to like him. It was to the day, and that's what he said. So the story is, I went to get my nails done with a friend and a girl in the village. It was her birthday, so we were doing like a special day with her, and all us girls were talking, and I think Wandy had done something to try to impress me, and I was probably talking about it, that it was annoying to me or blah, blah, blah. And they just said, you know what, Madilyn, I think you like him, and you need to just date him already. And I was like, where did you get that from? I mean, I like was totally against any of that. And they were like, you just should just date him and see if it would work out already. Just out of nowhere said that. And I was like, yeah, man, I mean, I'd really fooled myself to believing that I didn't like him, and that I was so like, no, like, it's not happening. And at that point, we both could speak more, obviously 2 years later. And I just was like, something in my heart was like excited about that. And I was like, yeah, well, I remember my aunt saying, you should date just to date. Just try and figure it out. I've never had a boyfriend. So I'm like, you know what? I'm getting older. I could just try it. Why not? But how am I going to bring that up to him? I've been like shunning him and, for a long time. And yeah, when I came back to the base after getting my nails done, he came in, and he just said, hey, you want to go have dessert with me? And we're thinking, that was gutsy. Like, I've, pretty much told you don't ever do anything like that again, for a long time. What makes you today do that? And so I started thinking, is this a plan? Are they trying to set me up or something? But I just thought, it's okay, just say yes. So I said, yeah. He was really surprised. And And so after dinner, we went out to have dessert together, and he took me to this place, this park. It was a little far out, but it had these giant golden horses. It was really cute and private. And then I started to get nervous, and I don't really know why. I've never been nervous around him ever, but it started like I was really nervous, and I just felt like something was weird. Like you could tell like something was going on, like he had something to say, and he just said, so I just wanted to tell you, like, it's been 2 years. And I was like, when it registered with me, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you just said that. That is so insane, because I just opened my heart to that day. And so I was like, okay, but if we're going to date, we're going to do this American style. I'm not engaged to you just because I say, sure, I want to date you too, you know. And it was fine, but I fell so in love with him, and he's so great. And yeah, he's really impressed me even more. And it's been good. It's a very good decision. So now we're married.
So you got married in Cambodia?
Yes.
Did your family go for the wedding?
My parents came. My grandparents were supposed to come, but they got the flu right before, so that was sad. But I'm so glad that everybody. It was live, Facebook Live, so everybody got to watch it, and it was cool just to see all the comments and people just watching it with us and dressing up and sending us pictures that they were sitting and watching it, rooting for us. But it was a long wedding, so they couldn't watch the whole thing, like 3 a.m. to 12 a.m. So.
So was it like a Cambodian style wedding?
Oh yeah, it was completely. We couldn't get a visa for him to come back to America, and my goal and my dream would have been for him to come meet all my family and friends first, you know, before I just got married. But it's not how it worked out, and so everybody was really understanding, and we just knew it was time for us to get married, and later on we could figure out how it would work in America. But yeah, so it was definitely Khmer. Yeah, I had 7 gowns that I had to change into.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, different hairstyles and earrings and belts and bracelets and anklets and everything. It was, I was cinched in, corset and all, wrapped up, folded, everything. It was a big process, all day, all day and night to the next morning. So, yeah, it was a big deal.
Can you explain, can you share some of that? Like what, I have no idea what a Cambodian wedding is like. So 7 changes of clothes.
Right, so it's really a performance, I feel like. So it wasn't like my favorite thing, because American weddings are all about the bride and the groom. But a Khmer wedding is all about, one, respecting the family, honoring the family, and honoring all your guests and making them feel welcomed. And you know, it has a good heart behind it, but it was really difficult because we were so exhausted. And you stand and you welcome people a lot. And so the first time, it's a tradition for them to, like before, different families would come from their homes, and they would march with all these gifts in their hands, and they would come meet at the bride's house. And then they would welcome them in. And so they do that type of ceremony where everybody that's on the groom's side of the family gets dressed, and they have their little umbrellas and their drums and their music and their fruit baskets and everything that we've all paid for. Prepaid. That's not from them. And they go down the road and they come marching back in, like pretending that that's what they're doing. So it's like a traditional thing to do. And then they come in, and you have tents set up, and they come in and they give the gifts to us, and my parents and their parents stand there, and they have this fake wrapped gift, and everything is fake, but everything is elaborate and like gold and fake gold and all these ribbons and jewels, and it looks really exquisite, and it was really cool. And so they give these gifts, and then they give the gift back, and a lot of bowing and a lot of putting your hands like this and respecting, and you know, everybody's family. And you know, I don't know 100% what they were saying, to be honest. I was like, okay, what do I do now? And they're like, bow, bow. So I was just trying to follow whatever they told us. My husband had no idea what he was doing either, so it was pretty.
Really? So was his parents that were kind of guiding you, or
no?
who
So
was helping you?
the minister, the pastor, he was doing that, telling us what to do. His wife was there, and I don't know how you're supposed to know what you're supposed to do. So they just had people telling us what to do. It was crazy, like, hey, now walk here, walk there. And I did have bridesmaids, and he did have people standing with him too. And so they would kind of tell you what to do also. And it's just like a traditional thing.
Wow.
And of course the guy doesn't know. I'm sure he's not paying attention. So he's like, I don't know what to do. And but after that, you go and under the tent, and there's about there's hours and hours of all these ceremonies. You stand and you sit and you talk, and when you go to change clothes, I didn't know, but you're constantly given money, like little bitty, like little bills of money, and my parents had no idea. I didn't know how to prepare them what to give, and my dad's like, I don't have any money, so and so like everybody's like, it's okay, I got some money, and they're all throwing it in the pot, and there's like these people that come, they're like part of the wedding. I don't even know the celebration that you pay for. It's all a package deal. They have these things. I don't know. And they are like singing and like doing a performance. So there's like this performance for the people, and the both families are involved, and I have no idea because I'm changing, but I was told about that later, and my parents were like, we don't know what we're doing.
Oh my goodness.
But I
They're
did have
good sports.
Yeah, they were, and it was hot too, and we did have a translator for them. We had little headsets for them, so that was helping them, but you know, they didn't know too much, like what they were doing. You can't translate it all, but yeah, we had a foot washing ceremony, and then we were supposed to like apologize for anything that we had done, or maybe just apologize and just show respect to our families. That was really emotional, and just washing their feet, and it was just really honoring to their families, and then they have this hair cutting thing where we sit on these giant golden chairs, and they've come to pretend like they're going to cut your hair, and they squirt you with perfume, but they really do squirt you with perfume. We just asked them, please don't squirt us, please don't squirt us. Some did, some didn't, but it's some really strong stuff. But and then there's a mirror. So they have these tools that are sitting on this table, and they pick it up. They get to choose what they want. And then you're just taking pictures. Everything is pictures all the time. So they're coming and pretending like they're cutting your hair and smiling and spraying with perfume and smiling. It's like a weird thing. I don't know what that is. Wow. And then, of course, there's a ceremony, but with the pastor, you're actually saying your vows, and they're speaking, and he did like a ceremony about marriage, and to us and for the people that weren't Christians as well, to learn about that. And then I think that's about it, but I'm sure there's some more. But that was a lot of different stuff that we were doing. And there was something that the night before that we also did. It's just a lot of ceremonies. And then after that, you do take a break for a short time, and then you come back, and it's party time, and I stand at the entrance with this big fake flowers everywhere, and I welcome my guests in, and I change multiple times throughout the whole night, and everybody gets to come and listen to this giant stage and speaker with lights like a concert that are singing and making jokes and performing for them, and they get to sit and eat, and it's a giant party. People are partying all night long and dancing, and so that's all night, and I'm not really a part of that, actually. I'm at the front welcoming everybody in. It's crazy. And taking pictures, and then it gets a certain amount of time where all the guests have arrived, because they can come from there's like hours where they can just come and eat and leave, whatever they want to do. Then I walk down this long aisle, and everybody's excited to see me and Wandy. I'm in a really pretty dress. It's my favorite dress, by the way. And it was gold, long sleeve, it has this little collar, and my hair's all tied up, and I got these pins in it and things falling down. It was really pretty. It had these pink flowers on it, and I have to walk like this. And then everybody gets in a circle, and we walk in the circle, and they throw like flowers, I think, at us. And we're walking around this table, and then we go up on stage, and they make jokes about consummating the marriage for some reason. I don't know why they do that. And everybody's like, kiss, kiss, kiss. And we didn't kiss, because I also, it was so nerve-wracking. I was like, because some people you can and some you don't have to. So, and I should have done that. I regret not kissing him, but it was okay. It's just awkward a bit, you know. And then after that, you throw the bouquet like we do here. And, yeah, and then after that, you get to go eat. And so I took off all the clothes and all the earrings and everything, and I changed into American clothes that were cute that my mom helped me buy. And then I went and visited everybody that was still there. And my husband went around talking to all his cousins and friends and ate a lot of food. And I laid down and was resting with the old ladies on the bench. I was like, I'm so tired. I'm going to go lay down over here.
Is there a picture of that?
I have some selfies, actually, because they wanted a selfie with me. And they were talking to me about, marriage and everything. And I was like, listen, my eyes feel like they're like literally crossing right now. And after that, yeah, it was 12 a.m. and he was like, okay, I'm ready to go. I've finally found enough food to fill me up. He was trying to get the food because they take the food away, and he didn't get enough food. And so he was literally like joining everybody's table, trying to eat a little food off their table. Like, so he was doing that for the last few hours. And so, yeah, that's a long story, but yeah, it was a long day.
That is incredible.
Sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
It was a lot, but it was worth it. And yeah.
What a cool experience,
It
though.
was really cool, yeah. Yeah. It was like a princess kind of. Looking at the pictures, it was really like magical looking. So, yeah. Yeah.
So, very different culture.
Yes.
Very different culture. And you guys were there doing church planting,
Yes.
disciple making.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a little bit about just your experience with ministry there? I know
Yeah.
it's not all been roses, but yeah, can you share a little bit about how things have gone, what that's been like doing that? Cambodia's a tough place.
Yeah, it's
You're
tough.
in an unreached people group.
Yes.
Yeah, share with us about your experience.
Yeah, I think I've had many experiences, and there's like 1,000 stories that I could tell you, and I don't know how to like really pinpoint exactly. It's not going to be the same for every person that you share the gospel with, and even in the same like group of people that we were working with for so long in this one little community, we're like 30 people that believed in Jesus, and or more, and so it was. Yeah, we had like a lot of ups and downs. Like one minute, you just thought everything was going really well, and then the next minute, you thought, well, did they actually understand like what they just did? And so I think that you're fighting a bunch of spiritual warfare, and we're coming in. My husband, he's amazing. He's Khmer, and so he can speak on a deeper level and like understand. I mean, he lived like they did as a kid, and like he, his whole life really, and even his parents have been really a great support for me and him to even help us understand things a little deeper, because they've experienced so many like hardships and just how to live, and like so the decisions that people make that seem like, why, like would you do certain things that are going to cause harm to your family, like financially, or would sending your children away to go work, or why would you not just do something else to help yourself, or walk biblically with the things that we've taught you? Why would you not continue on with that? And they've been, helping us understand like a deeper, like just where they're coming from the culture. I know that's like kind of vague what I'm saying, but they're farmers, and the village that I'm at is farmers, and they work hard every single day. And a lot of them are older, and they have tons of grandchildren, and their children go to work off in Thailand. A lot of them are Phnom Penh in the bigger city in factories, and they're like working really hard jobs. And you don't get enough to support your family and to pay off your debt. A lot of people are in debt a lot, and so we're constantly fighting those struggles. And also, people are drunk. People love to drink beer over there, Christians and non-Christians, and that's fine. But it really affects the families over there when that's all that they can do. And I think with children, I love children so much, and they love me, which is great. You love that they feel like welcome in your house. And I always have people in my house, which can be exhausting, but they're always coming over and knocking on the door, looking in your windows, and wanting to spend time with you, and you feel like they become your family and your friends, and you care for them like in a really deep way, which you want to, because that's how Jesus loves, And so when you see people, when you're teaching them with all your heart, we had youth. I'll talk about the youth for a minute. The youth that we had come to our house, some of them went to school, some of them didn't. Some chose to quit, and their parents are fine with it. They wanted their children's to work rather than to go to school, because they thought school's not going to get you anywhere. And it kind of doesn't actually over there. Like, if you graduate high school, you're not like automatically going to get a job. You don't need that type of to get a good job over there. And so, I mean, really, a lot of jobs are really difficult to have. They don't give you enough money, and so, or you have to work really, really hard, and it's hard for them. And so they're just like, okay, right now our whole family needs money and food on the table, so my son doesn't need to go past the 7th grade, and we're just sending him to go work somewhere, or send your daughter off to Thailand by herself, and it's really just, you're just thinking, man, like, if you just knew like what she could get into over there, like what could happen to her, and you try to share that with the family. And it just seems like not even, they just can't comprehend what you're saying. They're just like, we don't have a choice. Like, we don't understand them, and we don't. I don't know how that feels to be in such need like they are. But we loved all of our little girls and all our little boys that would come to our youth, and they couldn't read very well, but we would sit with them and teach them how to read the Bible. And we did is it called, not the Joshua Project, but it's something where they draw out the Bible. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's like things online that you can watch, and it's in Khmer. And so they are talking about the Bible, and they draw it out, and it's like a story that they're telling, and it's really interesting. They love that. But we help them to learn to read. I might have said that already, but and just to show them there is so many opportunities out there, and like God could show you that, and like what are you good at, what do you like to do, and just trying to really give them hope, and just like kind of help them think about what are they passionate about. What has God created you for? Who are you besides a poor little boy or little girl in this village that needs to help feed their family? Like, God has destined you for something, and I just really wanted them to grasp that they can help their family, but they need to, number one, seek God, to obviously be obedient to your family, but also you can think outside the box. And I think in their culture they really put themselves in a box sometimes about way they need to do something. But I think right before we've had some sad situations with our ministry right before I came here, and one of those things where a lot of the families started to say, like, they had some other issues with being like kind of gangster. What is that word? I can't think of the English word, but a little thuggish, a little bit, and some of the parents got into some bad situations with other people and didn't want their daughters traveling the roads at night. Wow. And so they couldn't come to our place, and they had school and work, and the only time they could come to our house was later at night. And so for them to come to our house, they had to quit coming, and then, they kind of just continued to drop off like that because there were some other issues that happened recently with their families, and so that was really sad. But I really believe we've planted some seeds, and I just hope that they can remember the words that they read, and they all have Bibles. And so, so there's always a lot of tragic things that happen, but I just know that at that time it was a really fun time. And I think my favorite was Christmas this last year. We taught them, we did the nativity story, and I took all the clothes that I had and every kind of like fabric, and we wrapped it around their heads and acted like Mary and Joseph and the wise men and the angels, and they loved it. And they acted it out for the whole village, and it was a really fun time. We played games, and I really think that that had made an impact, I hope, in their lives. So yeah, that's some of the ministry. There's a lot of ministry that we're doing, but that was my favorite part. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're coming up on our time here. I don't know if you had anything else to ask. I have one more question. But
No, I think my question would just be if there's anything that you would want to share with anybody who's looking at going out. I mean, you're obviously a tenacious person, persistent, and just love the Lord with your whole heart. And to go to a place like Cambodia, I mean, we have people from Globe who went there and came back almost traumatized after just having been there and just seeing, after the Khmer Rouge, the nation it's a tough place, and you live there, and you're ministering there. Any word of advice for somebody who wants to get involved in missions? And I think a lot of people around your age are saying, I even feel called to unreached people groups, but I don't know where to go. I don't know how to get started. What would you say to somebody who'd like to get into missions?
I think there's a lot of organizations out there that can help. I can't give you one word on where you should go or who you should talk to, but I do know that when your heart longs for something, I would just encourage them to not give up, searching, seeking the Lord and His heart. And I think sometimes there's just people don't follow the call of God because they don't know where to go and what to do. And I know I'm not answering what you need to do, where you need to go to get that kind of information, but I do know that the Lord has guided my steps all along the way, and even bringing me to you guys, and He will show you what He wants to do. And I just think when our heart, what is that verse? It says, when we seek Him with all of our heart, we will find Him. And so I really believe like continuing just to seek Him and pray, and any opportunity that you get to talk to anybody who's involved, I think just go and try out some things. Why not? And I think don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and just to seek Him and seek out what you want to do. I believe God will show them what they need to go.
That's good.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Yeah,
being here. It was so awesome hearing your stories, your
Thank
crazy
you.
stories.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
if
Thanks for
somebody
having me.
wants to find Madilyn and her husband Wandy and support them or learn more about what they're doing, how can they do that?
So you can give through Globe online. I have a page and everything set up for that, and I do have a private Facebook page called Madilyn's Missions, and you have to request to follow it. But there's all my updates, and you can search my name, Madilyn Kent, and I'm on Facebook, and so you can message me on that if you'd like to, and those are some ways that you can get in touch with me.
Well, we're thrilled that you're with us, Madilyn.
Yeah,
Such a
thank you so
blessing to
much
have
for
you here.
having me. It's been fun. Thanks for listening.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for listening to Crazy Missionary Stories. If you are listening on Spotify, don't forget to follow us and give us a 5-star review. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, and of course, share it with your friends. Thank you guys for listening. See you next time.